Colonel, I beg you, please reconsider. By the rules of war.
Rules of war. Would you like a lesson, sir, in the rules of war? Or perhaps your children will.
No lesson is necessary.
Sir, what of the rebel wounded?
Kill them.
Welcome back to another episode of Front Row Cinema, a movie podcast for movie lovers by movie lovers. I am your host, TJ Trimboli, and with me, as always, my co-host, we've got American Revolutionary in the house tonight, Colonel James O'Reilly.
Hey, let's pump the brakes on that American Revolutionary stuff. I don't want anybody getting the wrong idea. No, yeah, how's it going though?
It's going. Happy 4th of July, my friend.
Yeah, totally.
Totally. And for the people at home, I know it's don't check your dial, don't check that date. We are coming to you live on a Thursday here. Normally we take a look at our 1,000 movies, but we thought with a nice special holiday here for the biggest holiday over here in America, we thought it would be fun to bring you an absolute classic in American independence and bring to you one of the most essential viewings for American history here. Jim, what are we watching today?
We're watching part 2 of the Mel Gibson historical fight for freedom, The Patriot.
That is right. We are watching what some may consider the quintessential movie on American history, 2000's war epic, The Patriot, directed by the god of disaster movies, Roland Emmerich, and written by Robert Rodat, and starring Mel Gibson and Heath Ledger. Now, Jim, it's a very special day here at Front Row Cinema when we can always bust out our VHS copy of the movie at hand.
Oh, wow, VHS, dude.
That's right. That's right. We're busting out the VHS of The Patriot. We got to enjoy it while we can, because as we're going through these years, we're slowly shrinking down the amount of VHSs that we could even see. I think by the time we get to 2004, 2005, they're not making any more VHSs anymore.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure VHS is long gone by 2004.
Yeah, by 2004 for sure. I still have a few movies from 03 that still have VHSs, but I've yet to see anything in the wild from 04. So I think 03 might have been the swan song.
Yeah, I mean, you would definitely know better than me if you still have like a collection of VHSs. I can't remember the last time I actually held a VHS in my hand.
Well, I do still hunt, especially since we've been doing this now. Every time I'm at a thrift store, I'm always hunting to see if I can find any VHSs of movies that are on the list. Because it's always funny to bust out these bad boys from yesteryear. And we turn to the back.
Interesting
Yeah.
question before
Yes.
we get to the back.
All right.
Just while we're on the topic of VHS, is it like records in a way where, like there's easier and more convenient ways to listen to music now, but records still have like a kind of like tonal quality to them that you can't quite get anywhere else? Not the same thing for VHS, right? It just looks way worse than everything
not the same
else.
thing for if you ever wanted to find the worst way you could possibly watch a movie, VHS is definitely the way to go today. Like, I'm sure back then when it's popping out, like that was groundbreaking stuff. But when you've got like the abilities that we have today for watching movies, you turn on a VHS and it's like stepping back into like the 80s. You're like, dear fucking God, like what am I watching?
It's like watching a football game from like 1994, and you're like, wait, did we actually watch things on that like TV? Like, did we watch things on TV that looked like that?
Yeah, in the same way that like when you watch movies in the theater now and everything is digital, you no longer see those like cigarette burns on the film reel anymore.
Sure, yeah,
It's the same way with VHS, where now like I pop in a VHS and you always get those things where like I don't know if like the tape is warped or whatever, but you get the weird like static line that pops up on the video because the VHS is like warped. Yeah. So
yeah,
it's
dude, you know what I'm just thinking of right now as you're saying that? Do you remember when you rewound movies back in the day? There literally used to be like lines on the screen as you were rewinding.
Yeah, it would pop up in the corner and you're seeing like the thing like as it's going back. What absolute wild times.
Crazy to think about that was a thing that happened. Yeah. Because it's just like none of this stuff today does anything even remotely like that.
No, they've made it as simple as possible. You watch something it's over, you can literally click one button and it just starts over again. If I wanted to rewatch The Patriot after watching this VHS, I had to spend probably 3.5 minutes rewinding this bad boy.
Yeah.
So definitely a lost relic of time, for
All right,
sure.
one
But
last question.
yes,
Is your VHS the extended cut?
there's an extended cut of this
That's
movie.
what I watched, dude. I watched the
What?
extended
Well, all right. So what's the length of the extended cut?
cut. It was I had to get it on MGM Plus via a free trial. That was
Jesus.
the only right. I was
MGM
deep in the
Plus.
streaming game,
Yeah,
MGM
you
Plus.
you
Which
know we've got too many streaming services, but it's like we got MGM Plus now.
yeah, dude, I'm not gonna lie. I hate to just plug streamers on the podcast, but they had a lot of cool movies. I'm not gonna keep it, but I'm gonna try and watch as many movies over this 4th of
And
July weekend
yeah,
on MGM Plus as I can.
while you have the free trial, might as well get as many in the tank as you can.
Yeah, there was a lot
So
that caught my eye. But yeah, so the extended cut though was 2 hours and 55 minutes, and I think that's probably including the credits because that was what the timestamp on the streaming service was.
you said 55?
Yeah, 2 hours 55.
Okay, so then I don't think it is because this one says on the back here it's approximately 165 minutes, which I believe is 2 hours and 45.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
that
like
might be
10 minutes
pretty.
shorter, I think.
Yeah, I looked it up. There wasn't too much added to the extended cut, but go ahead. Do read the back of it.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Right there on the back. This film has been modified from its original version. It has been formatted to fit your TV, which
Yep.
means it
Wow.
looks tiny.
Yep. Remember when VHSs all used to say that?
Yep. Because it had to shrink it down to like bite size to even show it on your like, what is it? You had like your 8-inch TV in your room.
Something like that.
But enough VHS lore. We turn to the back cover of the Patriot here for our log line, and it reads: a hero of the fierce French and Indian conflict, Martin had renounced fighting forever to raise his family in peace. When the British arrive at his South Carolina home and endanger what he holds most dear, Martin takes up arms alongside his idealistic patriot son Gabriel and leads a brave rebel militia into battle against a relentless and overwhelming English army. In the process, he discovers the only way to protect his family is to fight for a young nation's freedom. Yeah, that's a log line. All right.
A lot of
Wasn't it
words in the routine. A lot of words.
a lot of words? Also, wasn't it like just a full blown war, the French and Indian War?
uh, I mean,
I
kind
like
of.
how
I think
I
it was
like how
like
they call it just a conflict in this one. It was just a we had some words and it's cool now.
yeah. I think France and England were kind of fighting each other like all over the place. So like the French and Indian conflict or war or whatever is just kind of like part of the bigger thing.
We were just around. We're like, listen, it's not our beef. We're here, like we're in the middle of it. We're like a kid in
Yeah.
a parent's divorce. We're just stuck in the middle of it.
Yeah, right. When we're super aggressive about expanding, it's just a little dust up, you know? It's, it's
That's too funny. Oh boy, Jim, did you see this movie in theaters?
no, not in theaters, but I did see it like probably like right when it got onto either like the movie channels or on home video. I would have seen it like right away.
Yeah, I didn't see this one either, but I remember having always seen this movie, so I'm sure it's the same way. Like Big Rob got this at Blockbuster, and it was like, we're gonna watch The Patriot now, boys.
Yeah,
And like
this was
10-year-old
yeah,
me was probably like, yo, cool.
this was right. This was like Friday movie, like rent a movie night back in the day. Like we got the Patriot one time for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you get The Patriot on home video,
and
which is
then
like,
many more times after that.
yes, we just continue bringing it to the bank. But yeah, 2000, we're like 10 years old. That's an insanely early time to be watching. This movie is like insanely bloody. Like it is crazy that my dad showed me this movie at such a young age.
Yeah, I mean, at points it really gets there.
Yeah.
A couple of parts it really gets there. But it's also like it's interesting because it kind of reminds me of Gladiator, where there is those like brief moments of like really graphic, intense violence, but like also most of the movie is not really like that. You know what I mean? Like there's really just like a handful of parts. And it's also like kind of earned. So I don't know. It feels like less gratuitous, I guess, in this and Gladiator. And that's probably the last time I'll compare it to Gladiator.
Very true. There you go. Well, all right. Well, let's turn our attention then to the box office because I'm very interested to see if a movie about one of our biggest moments in American history was able to bring out all of its American people and big up some big juicy numbers.
Numbers, dates, and numbers, dates, array, dates, numbers. Show me the money.
All right. So The Patriot comes out in a weekend we've talked about already. It actually shares an opening weekend with a movie from earlier, The Perfect Storm.
Really?
So it comes out the weekend of June 30th to July 2nd.
Oh,
which
man.
The 2nd is a Sunday, which means the 4th itself is the following Tuesday. So this is like one of those weird, like, it's kind of a 5-day weekend, but a lot of people are probably working on the 3rd. So, like, I don't know if it's quite a 5-day weekend, you know? But so in its 3-day, it opens in second place.
Ooh.
Behind The Perfect Storm. Perfect Storm opened
Wow.
number 1 with 41.3 million, and The Patriot opened against a $100 million budget to 22.4 million.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely calls for a double whammy right there.
Yeah, and this is maybe one of the more interesting 5-day weekends to talk about, though.
Yeah.
Because in its 5-day, it actually pulls in closer to like 44 million. So like this is the kind of movie where maybe you're not necessarily seeing it on the 30th to the 2nd because, like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go on America's birthday and see The Patriot. You know what I mean?
So
Like,
all right, so there's an interesting question, Jim. Is what is the single day gross on the 4th of July right there?
that is a really good question, actually. Hold on, let me go dig that up.
So many people were like, you know what I can use before some burgers and dogs on the 4th? Some goddamn Patriot.
Okay, so July 4th, it pulls in 5.9 million.
Okay.
Which beats out no, it doesn't beat out any of its weekend days. Although it also has previews from the 28th to the 29th. Like, it made 5 million on the 28th. So that's interesting. It came out the Thursday before 4th of July on a Tuesday.
Interesting. Wow, yeah, that's a very like odd pair
Yeah.
for,
And so
for a
then
release date there.
that 44.5 million I was talking about, that's actually like from the 28th up to July 4th. So the first like week or like 4 or 5 days, 6 days that it's out, it pulls in 44 million. But I'm going to count it cuz it's
We'll
like
count
the
it.
summer, like there, you know, like it does pretty consistently. Like the 28th it does 5 million, the 29th it does 4.3, the 30th 6.8, and then Saturday is its best day with 8.5. Like all of those days between the 28th and the 4th are like pretty even with each other. So I don't know. I feel like you can count the whole thing.
Yeah, that seems like a pretty consistent
The the Patriots like release was like a whole week long patriotic event.
yeah,
Dude.
it's a
It wasn't
goddamn
just like,
celebration, baby.
you can't boil it down to one weekend.
Did
Like,
it at least beat so that 5 million that we were talking about on the 4th of July, was that at least for it to be the number one movie that day? Did it at least beat Perfect Storm on the 4th of July?
let's see. It's not looking like it did. No, it lost. Perfect Storm pulled in 9 million on the 4th of
Oh
July.
my
So the Patriots
god,
5.9. So like, with all that said, this feels like a big failure against the $100 million
yeah,
budget. It feels like this is not what they were looking to happen.
especially because it's like, they were like, this is going to be like the de facto 4th of July movie. Like we got Roland Emmerich, who did Independence Day, and the last time he did a 4th of July movie, like it swept everything. Like this is our piece here, and then you lose to The Perfect Storm.
Yeah, I mean, so like I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves here, but like one of those movies stars Will Smith and has a cool alien invasion thing going on, and the other one's just like a really preachy, boring fucking like it's like not really the same kind of vibe. Like a
Bro,
lot more people will dig Independence Day on the 4th of July. They bang out a few Budweiser Americans, you know what I mean? They had some burgers. They're ready to go see
yeah,
Independence Day.
they're ready to go. Yeah, like a war epic doesn't normally really scream like big popcorn summer movie because like those are supposed to be like impactful and full of pathos and like weigh on your soul. Like you don't really want like a turn your brain off like just shoot 'em up war movie
Yeah.
when you're making them.
And I mean, this movie is like closer to that 4-hour Civil War movie, Gods and Generals, than it is to Independence Day. Like
Yeah. Yeah, it
uh,
doesn't have a lot that I feel like the mainstream audience over the summer is going to be tuning in for. Like they don't want to hear like sweeping speeches, like grand declarations, like heavy war themes like that. I'm like, I just want to eat some popcorn, turn my brain off. Like, of course, we're going to go to the perfect storm. I mean, I'm seeing George Clooney and Mark Wahlberg fighting big waves. Like, fuck yeah.
yeah. And I mean, there's an audience for the Patriot, right? It's just not as big as the audience for Independence Day is. Like
Exactly.
that's like Independence Day is designed to be broadly like have broad appeal.
Yeah. And I wonder too if the fact that this movie became so maligned for being historically inaccurate, if that turned off a lot of people that would otherwise normally be into going to see a movie like this, like history buffs.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I feel like that's a pretty safe bet for every history movie that came out before the year 2000. And
Yeah.
like even after, like they don't really like prioritize accuracy to real life events. They prioritize like story. You know what I mean? Like that's generally what they're going for.
Some just hide it a lot better than this movie does.
Yeah, but anyway, so I want to keep going with the box office here.
Yeah.
Weekend 2, it drops down to 3rd place. Behind Scary Movie, another movie we did, which opens this week. The Perfect Storm stays in second with 27.1 million, and then the Patriots down in third with 15.4. 31% drop, so not too terrible, but again, it's like bigger than that when you look at the whole picture of that holiday weekend.
It's not terrible, but when you got a budget of 100 million plus whatever your marketing is, like those drops, they hurt no matter what the percentage
And I
is.
mean, right, these drops are against that original 22 million, so they're not terrible drops, but it's also like you're still not really racking up totals with them. You're still pretty middle of the road here. So weekend 3, it's another movie we did, opens number 1, X-Men.
Ooh.
Man, so we just dodged the Patriot. We did like
we
we did all
managed
these weeks, but Scary Movie takes second, Perfect Storm stays ahead of the Patriot in third, and Patriot 4th place, 31.2% drop, but already down to 10.6 million.
So it's
and
like you're dipping
place,
fast.
Yeah, right. And then I mean, I'm just gonna go to the bigger top 10 here and see if it really, because I have a feeling it's gonna be out of here pretty quick.
Yeah.
Weekend 4, it's down in 7th with 6.2 million.
That's a big drop.
Right. By weekend 4, dude.
Yeah, like that's not good.
Usually weekend 4 for some of these movies, they're really like they're staying in like the top
You
2
should at
or
least
3.
Yeah, you should at least or for a big movie like this, like you're hoping you're still in the top 3. Like at worst case scenario, you're hoping you're still in the top 5, but like to drop out that quick.
Right. And then so weekend 5, it's down in 8th with 4.4 million. Weekend 6, it's in 10th with 2.3 million, and finally in weekend 7, August 11th through the 13th, it drops to 13th place with 1.5 million.
Dear God, that's just
So it stays in the top 10, pretty close to what I think average is, but it drops out of that top 5 like a brick. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, like it sunk very quick and then just kind of like held on as long as it could.
yeah, and then so then just to finish it up with some totals, domestic total against I got it wrong before. It's $110 million budget.
Ooh.
So domestic total against that budget, 113.3 million.
But just like
Yeah, it just beats its budget, which is domestically, which is a loss. Like there's
yeah,
no
like
way
that's not
that's
good. Like you
back in
you didn't make
2000.
money back on that.
International, it makes 102 million for a worldwide total of 215.3.
It's interesting that it's international. It was even that high because it's like it's very much an American movie. I wonder what it did in the
Yeah.
United. I wonder what it did in the United Kingdom.
Is there? I think you can look a movie up by country. We can try and figure it out.
They're going and watching that. They're like, what the fuck is this shit?
Let's see. No, I want international.
It was like
domestic.
because like yeah, the British were the bad guys, but like they really made them bad guys in this one.
Well, yeah, I mean, some of them were real bad dudes. Yeah, I mean, Jason Isaacs, who was just in is in one of our upcoming movies, is like maybe the worst dude ever.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I don't know. Just like last thoughts on the box office, it's a total failure, right? Like this is a bomb in
Oh
theaters.
yeah, absolutely. This is, and especially for something that you were probably hoping was going to be like one of the biggest earners for this year. I wonder
Yeah.
I wonder if this was the follow up movie to Independence Day for Roland Emmerich too.
I think we'll get into it later, but it was not. There's one movie sandwiched in
Interesting.
between there, which
Interesting.
I'll let you ponder on, and then we'll talk about it later.
We'll get to him later. All right. Well, that's fine. And I mean, it's funny that we're sitting with this because I mean, the absolutely a bomb, but critically, it's kind of like in the middle of the pack for it. Like it doesn't have the ratings that you would expect from a movie that bombed like this. So 62% Rotten Tomatoes, still rotten, but not as bad as you would think for how quickly this movie dives out of the top 10. IMDb sitting right in the middle of the pack, 7.2. The craziest one, a cinema score. It's a little wild.
That's not as crazy to me because if you went to the movies to see The Patriot on July 4th weekend or the weekend before July 4th even, like you're probably not coming out of it with bad feelings.
Sure,
You know
yeah.
what I
You're
mean?
like
You
you're
went to
gung
that
ho.
movie for a reason.
Yeah, they're
You
getting
like
they're
paid your money for your tickets to go see The Patriot. You're definitely like pretty happy with like you're like, yeah, we did win in the end.
they're like serving Joe Budweiser as he comes out of the movie in his American flag bathing suit, and he's like, "Yeah, it's moving top notch."
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
So the asim of the score tracks there. So that does cover. And God, what a movie! I wish I could have been around back there and actually went to see in theaters because this is a perfect theater experience movie. So let's dive into this, Jim. Let's hear some likes and dislikes for this
Yeah.
wild movie.
So I'm gonna give you a like and a dislike, and they're gonna go in chronological order for when they happen in the movie, right? So the first 45 minutes of this movie, double thumbs up, big like.
Okay, all right.
I said before I wouldn't compare it to Gladiator again. I lied, right? Because it's like it's the second movie I can think of like it struck me as the only other movie we've seen this in where it has a really long setup. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I would say when this movie really gets cooking is when he gets offered to lead the militia. He gets made like a field lieutenant or whatever rank he gets. I don't even remember. That's really when the movie gets like going toward the plot and like where it's going to get going. So everything before that is really to me just setup, right? You're setting up the whole time. And I can't think of any other movie besides Gladiator that has that long of like an act one and a setup for the movie and also just knocks it out of the fucking park. You know what I mean? Like, can you think of any other ones we've done that are like that?
We've done no Gladiator is the only one that springs to mind that has that elongated act one. I mean, I guess like the first Harry Potter has a lot of setup too, not nearly to the
Yeah.
degree of this one, but that's like the closest one I can think of that also has like a longer act one than you normally see in movies.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Harry Potter's probably up there too. But so it's just he's such a cool protagonist in that first 45 minutes. You know what I mean? Like
He's a
we
fucking
jump into the story with stuff already happening. You know what I mean? Like we're on the brink of war, everybody's arguing about everything. And he makes such a good point in that opening sequence, like at the legislator, when he's like, look, guys, I know this all sounds great and you're like fighting for freedom or whatever, but like your kids are going to start seeing dead people on a daily basis. Like, he's like, you're not
Like,
thinking this through.
I
Like,
do love that line. It's like, could we govern ourselves? By chance, maybe we could.
yeah, yeah. So I just like, I love that you start in that action, and he has such a strong point of view early in the movie. And the way that you go through that first sequence, or first couple of sequences maybe, where he starts with that strong point of view, and you as the audience are kind of like, yeah, actually he's making a lot of good points, like I don't think they should have a bunch of death and dying people around. um Throughout those sequences, though, he finds himself in a position where it's not up to him whether that's going to happen. This is one of the scenes that got added in the extended version, pretty shortly before Heath Ledger comes back to the house and he's all injured and they have to like help him and hide him. The kid, like all of Mel Gibson's kids, see a bunch of dead bodies just like floating down the river behind their house, you know. um and and then right, Heath Ledger comes home, and the whole scene at the farm happens when Thomas dies. So like, you see Mel Gibson's strong point of view, and you see all these things that are right that he's trying to protect alongside freedom, and then he's just left with no choice. You know what I mean? Like, all the things that he was trying to gain by not going to war have already been taken away from him. You know what I mean?
Like, he's
And then
really
he
pushed into it.
snaps, and yeah, he snaps and has that whole epic confrontation where him and his two like 9-year-olds ambush a whole platoon. Like, it's like, what is
Yeah.
going on in this movie?
Dude, that scene is
Um,
absolute bedlam too. Like, he just gets his
yeah,
son in the woods, gives him muskets. He's like, "Remember, I told you to shoot."
yeah,
They just murk him.
yeah, dude, those kids killed like 7 people.
Yeah.
They were children, you know, and
But
like,
then not only
it's
that, then they watch their dad just take 2 axes and run like a madman into the.
right. Right. And they also have, to cap all that off, I mean, that's probably the most violent scene in the whole movie, right? Like, for
Definitely
one.
up there.
And he's just like absolutely drenched in blood by the end
Yeah.
of it. You know what I mean?
And I love how they do like the slow motion of it too at times when like he's just like arcing like the axe. You're like, dude, this guy is a fucking nutcase.
Yeah. And I mean, Mel Gibson, say what you want about him, he plays crazy real well. Like,
Yes, he does. He
maybe,
does. I
maybe you
wonder
could
why.
argue he's not even playing.
Yeah, right, yeah. A little too close to home on that one.
Yeah, but so I mean, and that's all amazing and fits so perfectly, and it's this like awesome culmination of the debate that he's been having with himself and with everybody else throughout the first part of this movie. Um, and then there's one thing I really love there, where his kids, after that whole scene happens and he's drenched in blood, and Heath Ledger and one of the other sons are just like looking at him like, like, oh my God, that's not dad. Who's that guy? You know? So that's a big like, is the first 45 minutes for me. Don't like, and this will be a lot shorter, the rest of the movie is a fucking mess after that. Like, it's all over the place.
It's just an comically hilarious, over the top movie, like once it actually gets going, and it feels like it really only has like one agenda and what it wants to say in this movie, where it's just like, paint us rah rah great, paint the British as like the absolute worst of the worst, horrible, and like, and then we're just gonna ride that to the bank. When this whole situation of, you know, the American Revolutionary War was so much more complex than this movie feels the need to paint. Like, this movie literally just wants to be just that turn your brain off popcorn movie, and I don't think you can do that with a Revolutionary War movie. Like, you need to like at least acknowledge the complexities of what's a part of this movie. And I don't know if that's just like, it's watching this movie is always hilarious to me as an adult now, when like I know the people behind it, because it's like, all right, so it's directed by a German guy. So that's like right there. Like,
Yeah.
all right, we got all these British actors to play the British villains. Like, we need an all-American American. Who do we got? Australian Mel Gibson. All right, sure. Like, what about his son? Oh, all
Although
American American. We got
Mel
Australian
Gibson
Heath Ledger,
might
babe.
be the most American guy of all time. I'm just saying.
It's like, all right, yeah, let's rock. Okay, very okay. All right, let's do it. So it's like,
But
from top to bottom in every form of this movie is just, it's all over the place, behind the camera and in front of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually a really good point because maybe the way I would put it is that um the last like 2 or so hours, maybe like hour and 45 minutes of this movie feels like somebody trying to make a movie they think stereotypical Americans would like. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Like this feels like a movie that a German guy would be like, "What would Americans like?" I like, I got it.
yeah, and I mean, we talked about Signs, which the other Mel Gibson movie that came out earlier this week, by the way. We talked about stakes and Signs, right? This is a movie where I think if you keep it more contained and it's more about him versus Jason Isaac's character, and it's less about, you know, General Cornwallis and the war as a whole, and like, you know, the battle for freedom and everything, like that's a cool backdrop. But I just feel like it gets so lost in that in the second half of it, and we lose sight, like we lose so much sight of what I was actually interested in watching in the first 45 minutes, which is this personal guy go through a struggle, you know, not necessarily like a whole nation or like this weird like morality play that they're doing in the second half of it. It
Well,
just,
it
I don't
feels
know, what
like
do you think?
it feels like a movie that's trying to have its cake and eat it too, where it's like we, you know, because the first half we're in, like you said, we're introduced to this character, and it feels like we're going to be following this very personal journey of this guy through this war as he's trying to teach his kids, like, all of us lose in this scenario, like none of this is going to be good. But then it gets lost in the shuffle. We're like, all right, well, now we've got him in this, and this is a Revolutionary War movie. Like, we got to have it to the point where it's like he's got to defeat Cornwallis at the end. It's like, yeah, but
Right,
does he
right.
like?
Like we can't make a movie that makes what he's doing seem bad because it's America fighting for its freedom.
Exactly.
Like, and this is a movie that we're trying to make a bunch of money in America, and it's also the year 2000, so like patriotism was different back then. I don't know how to explain it. It's kind of still the same, but like it was more widely spread, I guess. Like there was less people rolling their eyes at it in
Yeah,
2000, I felt like. But that could just be I was a kid, I don't know. But like, so yeah, I don't know. It feels like it gets so lost in all of that stuff, and it
absolutely.
totally loses sight of like. I think this movie would be better if he slowly turns into the guy that did the thing in the French and Indian War at whatever fort they keep talking about, Fort
Yeah,
Wilderness.
Fort Wilderness. Yeah,
uh,
why do they keep mentioning Fort Wilderness? It's like, well,
right, like he
that's a pretty
slowly
terrible person.
he slowly like embraces those things that he had been denouncing for so long because they
Yeah,
finally took enough away from him to do it. You know what I mean? Like, um, that movie is way more interesting to me and has a way different second half than what we got. And it's not like it doesn't have this weird like masturbatory quality to it. It's just about like a dude, like, and I understand who that dude is and why he's doing the things he's doing, and like,
absolutely. And for a
and
guy
that's
that
not how
like,
this movie was.
yeah, and especially for a guy, you know, they build all this up, like all this Fort Wilderness stuff that happened, and like how, like, you know, lost in this man's humanity, he turned, like that war turned him into. But then throughout the movie, there's so much like comical relief to it that it feels
Yeah,
like this doesn't
exactly.
feel like the man that this should be. Because like the whole scene where he like goes and meets Cornwallis and tricks him into like releasing the men, and then like gets the dogs too, is like played for such laughs that it's like this doesn't feel like a dude who's being forced to like confront the horrors of war. Like this is like, it's almost like a buddy comedy right now.
Yeah. Which he also wins way too much in the second
Oh
half of the
yeah,
movie. He wins way too much. And like the losses that he takes are not necessarily, they don't feel like connected to the rest of the movie I'm watching. It's just like for a while he wins a bunch of battles and a bunch of ambushes, and then oh, this time they ambushed him, and like, you know what I mean? Like there's no build up to that.
yeah,
There's nothing I get as an audience member where I'm feeling like, oh yeah, this is paying off from earlier. It kind of just happens, you know? And they're like, this time
absolutely.
the bad thing happened instead of the good thing. And it's just like, okay, cool. That's like 1 out of 10. And then he's going to win like 5 more in a row now. Like,
It's very much all over the place, and it's weird that that ends up happening too, because the screenwriter, you know, it's Robert Rodat,
yeah,
famously wrote Saving Private Ryan, which is a movie that does all of the things that I feel like doesn't happen in this movie, where like it manages
yeah,
to make a movie that feels personal but also self, like Saving Private Ryan doesn't end with the platoon like helping end World War II. Like it's a personal
right.
story.
World War II is just a backdrop
Yeah,
for that
exactly.
movie.
Which is like,
they're in World War II, but it's
yeah,
like the overall picture of World War II is never really a part of what they're doing, you know?
exactly. Which is like what I feel like this is. So like, and I wonder if it's a case where it's like maybe he noticed that too, and he didn't want to feel like he was just playing the hits and like redoing the same movie, but in a different war. So he was like trying to find different ways to do it. But however it did, it
So
just
instead,
seems
he just
like,
made it way worse.
yeah, exactly. Like whatever it was, like something got lost in translation where this story that he was able to tell so beautifully in Saving Private Ryan feels like all over the place and muddled in this one. And I don't know if we can chalk that up to he had Steven Spielberg for that one.
I
But
mean, that's probably a big part of it.
yeah, it
That's
probably
probably,
definitely helps is that you have like one of the
his,
greatest living directors
his
with
filmography is a little bit more vast and and deep than Roland Emmerich.
I do love my man Roland.
Yeah, the other thing, and it's like hard to watch this movie and not bring this stuff up when you talk about it.
Yeah.
It's got a very early 2000s, late 90s relationship with race. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
Like,
it also does what so many of those movies back then did when they wanted to portray like this like area. And it was just like, we're just going, it does exactly what they do in American history when you learn it in high school. They're like, we're gonna say slavery existed, but we're not gonna talk anything about it. Like,
dude, no, but they did way worse than that. They make a point of it in the beginning of the movie for the black guys working his
yeah,
plantation to be like, we're not slaves, we
yeah.
get paid and
They're like,
everything. It's
we're
like, oh,
freed men, and it's just like,
yeah,
what? Like, I don't
it's
think
like,
that's a thing.
yeah. That's is if those are the historical inaccuracies we're talking about. I don't know if I care so much that it's inaccurate as much as it's just like what a cheap way to try and make this guy seem way better than he
Just
probably would have been in reality, you
it
know?
reeks of being disingenuous. Like,
Yeah, exactly. It's like we're just gonna sweep this right under the rug.
yeah,
Like,
it's just like I think
um,
everybody now, like watching a movie like that, can understand that it was a very different time and that it's a very complex moment in time. Like, we're not going to sit there, see him with that, and be like, immediately, this man's also horrible. Like, yeah, that's a horrible thing, but like, it's a completely different era. Like, I think we can watch this movie and take our minds out of it and understand both that, like, these what these dudes did in the American Revolutionary War is both this huge thing, but then we could also separate and be like, but them owning
yeah,
slaves is a really big fucking bad thing. Like,
you can understand that a lot of what they were saying was good, even if they didn't necessarily live by the words. You know what I mean?
exactly,
Like it's still something to strive for. Like you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
exactly.
But
Ooh, nice,
yeah,
nice.
right. I always got my little my little catchphrases.
Got his
But
metaphors in the
that
back pocket.
and then it has that again, like this feels like a very early 2000s thing to do, and like it probably doesn't die anytime soon, and it's probably similar to what people talk about with Green Book,
Mhm.
um where there's that relationship where Donal Logue shows up again, by the way.
Oh
Big that
yeah, yeah, yeah.
guy. Big that guy, Donal
Big that
Logue.
guy.
I think this might be
What are
the
you gonna
third
do
movie
with a
we've seen
dime a
that he's
day?
in. But like they have that relationship where it's just like, if we could just be the same and get together, like we'll realize we're not so different. And it's like how the black guy has to do something for the white guy, for the white guy to be like, huh, you might actually be a person. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah, like
it's like
it took
so
them fighting in
weird.
this militia and like all these like hoops to jump before he was like,
But
I see this man as a person.
not even fighting in the militia. He had to personally save that guy
Oh
for
yeah,
that guy to
yeah,
respect him.
yeah.
Like he like takes him and drags him away from the battle.
Battle.
He was fighting in the militia, and the guy was like making fun of him because he couldn't read
Read.
still. Like you know what I mean? So it's just like that. Just feels very tone deaf when you think about it in the context of today. So like it's like it
It
takes
is.
away from the
Well, I
movie
mean,
for me in a
it's
big
the
way.
classic just like brushing over that you see in movies like that, where like they have like the quick in the moment where they're at odds, and then through the movie they're gonna like find that way to come together and get over their differences. And it's like it's such surface level stuff that you do in these types of movies all the time. Like it's so comical. Like when he's reading the thing for him and he's like, you'll have freedom. And he's like, what are you gonna do with freedom? It's like, what the fuck are you
Yeah.
talking about? Like,
Dude, but like try and put yourself in the one guy's shoes for a second, where you're like just trying to go along to get along and fight for freedom like everybody else, and that guy's treating you like dirt. And then you do like the right thing and save him, and then he's like, you know what? You're kind of maybe not so bad. Like, wouldn't you be like, dude, fuck you?
Right?
Like,
He's like, I think you and me can be buddies.
yeah, I shouldn't have saved you, man. You suck. Like, you're
Yeah, right?
lucky
It's like,
I'm a nice guy.
yeah, right? It's like, I
Like,
should have left your ass in the dirt.
yeah. So it's just like, I don't know. When I think about it from that angle, I'm like, it's just so hokey and not real, you know? Like,
No,
I
that's
would
what
I would still be mad at that fucking guy after that.
exactly. Well, like this is very much, we've mentioned a few times, like it's a turn your brain off and just enjoy like violent spectacle type of movie because it's if you stop to think about any of like the actual implications of the things that went down in the complexities, you're like, this movie is utter nonsense. Like it's disingenuous. It's all over the place. It has I don't think they cared one bit about being true to anything that actually happened in the Revolutionary War. Like they
No,
just
of
have the
course
British,
not.
they have fucking Jason Isaacs like lock them all in a church and burn them alive. And it's like, I think if that anything like that actually happened in the Revolutionary War, we would be talking about it still to this day.
Yeah.
Like that's
I
so
mean,
goddamn insane.
I don't know. Maybe it did. I'm not saying it didn't. I just wish, like, instead of him, like, hunting at the sister's plantation and then, like, not finding the kids, so then he's got to try and look somewhere else, and then he goes to the town. Like, just as soon as he's saying he's going to go bad, just go do the church thing. You know what I mean? Like, just get to the fucking point, man. You're just wasting so much time. Like, he could easily just like see that wagon and then follow him back and figure it out from there, and that takes like 2 minutes instead of like 15 minutes of your movie, you know?
Yeah, because this movie is a beefy one. We talk a lot about movies being way too long, and this movie, at almost 3 hours, is fucking crazy long.
Yeah. And for a good chunk of that 3 hours, I don't really know what Mel Gibson's like immediate goal is. You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
I
because the
know
whole
that in
middle,
general he's trying to like be a menace and like win
yeah.
some battles. And I know in general they're trying to win freedom. But like moment to moment, like it just I don't know. It just feels like there's a lot of him like meandering around and not really
Well, that
doing
that
it.
whole middle of the movie, there's so much meandering. It's literally just like being a militia. It's like, okay, like
Yeah.
sure,
Yeah.
total,
There
total.
was there was some good individual scenes though. I like the one when one of the guys he signs up early on who when they're talking he's like, "Oh yeah, you're the guy who gives men like that a bad name," like his like old buddy. The scene when that guy like finds his wife and kid murdered was really good. Like was really good. He played it super well.
No,
Um
there's great scenes scattered throughout this. It's just overall is very very silly. I like Heath Ledger in the movie.
yeah, Heath
think
Ledger's good.
I think Heath Ledger is great. You could tell great up and comer right now. Was this? I think this was the movie right before Knight's Tale that he did too.
Yeah, that sounds right because The Night's
Yeah,
Tale was what,
it was
2001?
2001. Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
what a twofer right there.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah,
Um
it is crazy. This movie, you don't really see movies these days that have the balls to be this big, huge movie where they're gonna give this guy a big, huge family, and then you watch him have to like see like two of his sons get murdered,
yeah, well, I mean
and
that's
one of
another
the
thing
the young
where
kid gets murdered brutally too. Like he's just
yeah,
like fucking Isaac's just in cold blood, just guns down this child. It's like Jesus Christ, this.
yeah, he gave him an excuse though. That's Isaacs is looking for an excuse this whole movie, dude. You
Give me an
can't
excuse. What do you want to do with the prisoners, sir? Kill them.
kill them. Yeah, that's another thing though that's like it just probably is part of the reason why this movie is too long. Like every other movie that's like this, I mean, you do them all in one shot. You know what I mean? Like have them burn his plantation down with everybody inside. You know what I mean? And then boom, there's none of them left. You just take care of it right away. Like and then he's on his quest for revenge.
Absolutely. I do love like visually how they show, Jason Isaacs as he gets crazier throughout the movie. Like I love like towards the end when he's just finally unhinged and he like lets his hair down. He's just got the long like jet black hair and it's just like flowing in his face, like, and he's just got that crazed look. And it's like, dude, what is happening in this movie? It's
Yeah. It's really, I mean, it's really good the way that his charge in the end, like when he disobeys orders and charges too early and he falls right into their trap just because he's got too much pride. Like, like that's a cool way for him to go. And then I do kind of like him and Mel Gibson's fight in the end of the movie too. That's another
that
part
fight,
that I
that
like.
fight is pretty good. I like that whole ending fight scene. I think
Yeah.
is
I
good.
just wish it happened like 45 minutes sooner.
Yeah, exactly, dude. And just like I just love Roland not being subtle at all, where he's just like, how are we gonna like end this fight? He's like, I got it. He's like, Jason Isaacs charging him down. Mel Gibson's gonna take the American flag and stab the horse with it. It's like, yeah, oh, yeah, okay, all right, sure. Why the
Yeah,
fuck
dude,
not?
absolutely. I mean,
Like,
that
let's-
scene is so hokey too when he grabs the flag and he's like waving it around and like leads the charge. It's so stupid. It's so
It's
lame.
it's so, and it was like that's the funniest part because it's like what you're doing, like you're just trying to rally everybody up in the audience. We're like America.
Yeah. Yeah, like I don't know. It's just like that to me, that's I hate that culmination of the movie because then they're trying to make it sound like the movie's about him like learning to fight for his country. You know what I'm saying? Like like if that's the culmination of your movie, he finally does his thing and fights for his country. You're telling me that's what the rest of the movie's about, but that's not what the rest of the movie's about. He starts fighting for his country like 45 minutes in, and it's like a 3-hour movie. You know what I mean? Like, it's like this culmination is so lame. He's already been doing this.
Because like he's been doing this for the majority of the movie now. People like his goal has been completed for a while.
Right. So like I can watch it and I can say like, oh, this is supposed to be like the big emotional triumphant part of the movie. And I can like recognize it for that because the music's right and Mel Gibson's really fucking leaning into it. But like it doesn't feel like that's what it is, you know? So like I don't know. It falls flat for me.
No, it's all over the place. It's one of those movies that has a lot of individual scenes that I enjoy, and it's a movie that I enjoy watching because there's part and parcel of nostalgia from watching it as a kid, but you watching it now as an adult, it's so convoluted. I feel
Yeah.
like for no
Yeah.
reason, for zero reason. Like they made it so much more like convoluted than it needed to be. This could have been just a simple story of a guy being thrusted into a war that he wanted to keep his family out of and being forced to reckon with the ghost of his past as he tries to like fight for his sanity in this war.
And the part of this movie that I love, the first 45 minutes, that's what it's about. That's the first 45 minutes of that movie.
Yeah.
And then it turns into this weird, different kind of movie that I'm just not as into.
I'm just like, this is kind of all over the place at this point.
Yeah, it's a mess. It's a mess. I said it back at the beginning of my dislikes. It turns into a fucking mess.
It's like they had half a movie, and they were just like, "Fuck it, we got to film. Like, let's go. We're just gonna shoot war shit, and it's gonna be great."
Yeah, and then you mentioned the slow-mo before, right? Like how it was cool in the one scene with Mel Gibson when he's doing the ambush.
Yeah.
There's still so much bad slow-mo in this movie. Like when Heath Ledger is fighting Jason Isaacs' character, and they're like they charge their camp, and the Reverend like does the most embellished death I've ever seen in full slow-mo, and then like tosses the gun to Heath Ledger, like lobs it to him, and Ledger like catches it all cool with one hand and like aims it. I hated it so much.
it's so insane. I think that might have been Zack Snyder's right, that was his first movie they watched. Like he was like, I'm gonna do this.
That's his muse, dude.
That's his MO. That's his wet dream.
Snyder saw that and was like, I'm just gonna do that for the next 20 years.
I'm gonna do that in everything, and chuds are gonna love me online for it.
Rebel Moon, baby. Rebel Moon Part 2. Check it out.
Director's cut, baby.
Yeah. Isn't that the funniest thing in movies that like somehow a whole fan base has latched onto the idea that they want to see the 4-hour director's cut of this really bad movie?
They're like, listen, the director's cut's really where it's gonna shine. Like, you got it hampered here because like you got to make it for Netflix. It's like, bro, what? What are you talking about? Like,
Yeah. While we're talking about it, you saw the Fall Guy. The
I did see the
movie
Fall
that
Guy.
they were filming, was that not the most Zack Snyder movie
Oh
you've ever
yeah,
seen?
absolutely,
Like,
yeah.
it felt
So
very on the nose that that's what they were trying to say. Like,
just riffing on those Zack Snyder movies, baby.
yeah. But yeah, I don't know. So do you have anything else for the Patriot? Anything else like you really want to point out?
No, that was all the big stuff. I mean, it's got the only other thing I could think to mention is it's got a lovely slew of that guys. We mentioned Donald Logue.
Oh yeah, Chris
We got
Cooper.
Chris Cooper showing up in there. That guy is a classic character actor right there. You got Tom Wilkinson as
Yep, yep, as
Cornwallis.
General
Yeah,
Cornwallis, yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so but yeah, it's very it is a movie that just reeks of its time.
Yeah, and like I think you can tell by the box office that even back then people were kind of starting to roll their eyes. They were
Oh
like,
yeah,
"Oh my god, okay." But
even back then, everybody was like, "Yeah, absolutely not." And I was
right.
reading too about it. Like people were going off. Like this is one. Like obviously, we talked about it before. How any movie you're gonna watch about any thing that actually happened is always going to have its embellishments. If I see a
Yeah.
movie that starts with based on a true story, I'm assuming all of this is made up and only the people's like names maybe is
Yeah, you should
mostly.
always just assume it's
Yeah,
all made up.
always
Nobody
just
that's
assume.
making them has any incentive to tell the truth.
Exactly.
Nobody is-
But I think this movie in particular really riled something up in people because when I was reading stuff about it, like there was so many reviews of people just their entire review of the movie was just going in on the egregious historical inaccuracies of this movie.
yeah,
So
well,
I
those are
definitely
the
think
chuds, man.
definitely the chance. But I think this was definitely one that for whatever reason like really touched a nerve with people in regards to its historical inaccuracies. Because I think in
Yeah,
best case scenario, you do them, but you do them in a way that most people won't even realize you did it. And I
yeah,
think the problem with this movie is that they didn't do anything to make it feel seamless or to make yourself not realize that you're being misinformed about like
yeah,
actual things that went on back then. So this movie just kind of fumbled the ball and fumbled the
yeah.
ball in a
I
way that
mean,
really riled everybody up.
absolutely, yeah. I said it back in the beginning that this is part two of Mel Gibson's historical quest for freedom, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And part one of that is Braveheart, obviously. And I
Oh yeah.
mean, Braveheart certainly doesn't have less historical inaccuracies than the Patriot. You know what I mean?
True.
Like, it's definitely not accurate, but it's just like the things that they make that are inaccurate actually make the movie better. Whereas
Yeah.
in this one, it doesn't do that. So I
Doesn't.
think
Yeah.
people probably harp on it more, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. This is the Star Wars of history buff movies for those history buffs out there. They're just losing their
Exactly.
minds when this came out.
Well, I
Fire in
mean,
space?
dude, it's another thing that I just will never understand. Like, who the fuck gives a shit if a movie is historically accurate or not?
That's what
I
I'm
don't
saying.
care. Like,
Yeah.
who gives
Like
a
it's a
shit?
movie. Yeah, like it's a movie. Of course
Right.
it's
Like,
accurate. Like we're here
we've
to
all agreed that this is make believe.
yeah.
So, like,
Like
what are we talking about?
if I want historical accuracy, I'll watch a documentary. Like
Right. Or like read a book, maybe,
or read a
like,
book. Yeah. I'll watch fucking Ken Burns's documentary on like the Revolutionary War or the Civil War or any one of
yeah.
those. Like
I
I'm
learned a
here for
lot
you to
from
be
Ken
entertained.
Burns' Civil War. Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Still a better movie. And I don't know if any of that was true.
Yeah, exactly.
I
Yeah.
know it took place during the Civil War.
Like if I'm going to see a film, I want to be entertained. I don't give a shit if you tell the truth on anything or not. I just want the story that you're telling me to be cohesive and to make sense. Outside of that, I don't give a fuck what you change.
Yeah. So I mean, people are free to like get upset about that, I guess. Though, and just
It's
know
true.
that I
No,
think it's lame.
yeah, yeah. Just know that we think that like you're just a fool. Like just shut up and watch it. But you're valid, sure. But
Yeah.
yeah,
If that
outside of
makes you
that,
feel any better.
yeah, if it makes you feel any better. But yeah, outside of that, I think that's my big gripes on the Patriot, Jim. And I feel like we've teed it up earlier, and it looks like I'm getting Roland Emmerich in the IMDb deep dive. So I am primed and ready to jump into that bad boy's film career.
All right. So this might be the best pure version of IMDb deep dive, the way I imagined it, that we'll ever have.
Yeah.
Because all we're gonna do is play this or that with some movies that Roland Emmerich has directed, and I think they'll actually be tough decisions, or at the very
They
least,
are.
they'll say a lot about you.
They will, because I even though like this guy, they always say is a big schlocky director. I love a lot of his movies, like, and they're because they're great turn your brain off movies. He makes great popcorn movies.
So I haven't seen a lot of his movies from the 80s, so I'm gonna start in 1992.
Okay.
Do you take The Patriot or Universal Soldier?
There's a fucking movie right there. Universal
That's a tough
Soldier,
one,
baby.
right?
Yeah, Universal Soldier. That movie is out of control.
Yeah, it sure is.
Yeah, out of control. Yeah, I'll take Universal Soldier.
I'm gonna take Universal Soldier too, but so off to a hot start. I think those are hard ones though, because it's I wouldn't like you can't really say Universal Soldier is like a great movie, right?
No,
Like it's not really like quote unquote cinema.
yeah,
But
it's great because it's just it's absurd. It's just absolute schlock, but like it's good schlock.
yep. So all right, are you gonna take The Patriot or 1994's Stargate?
Oh, dude, like just teeing up wins here, man.
By the
Stargate. And
way, so
Kurt
far
Russell,
the leads in these movies, Jean-Claude Van Damme and Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell, like obviously Stargate, man. Kurt Russell, James Spader, like let's go.
Yeah, I'm taking Stargate too. I love that. And I keep telling you to watch this for the past like 5 years. Watch Stargate SG1, bro. It's so
Yeah.
good.
Okay. Add it on to the list of so many other TV
Put
shows.
that near the top of the list. You like sci-fi, dude. I'm telling
I
you.
do. I love
It's,
sci-fi.
it's a great show. It's a great show.
Okay. All right. I'll put it up there.
Okay. Do you take The Patriot or 1996's Independence Day?
I mean,
We
that might
talked
be
about
the,
this. I think we're
the
both
e-
taking
yeah,
Independence
the
Day.
easiest one of all. Yeah. Independence Day.
All right, and now we're up to the movie in between Independence Day and The Patriot.
Oh, I think I know what
Yeah,
it
I think you
is.
just remembered what it was.
Yeah. It's
Are you
Godzilla,
gonna
isn't
take
it?
The Patriot or 1998's Matthew Broderick vehicle Godzilla?
Oh my God. The funniest thing about it is that that's still a tough choice.
I know that's why this is the best IMDb deep dive, the most pure one. Because the whole point is I just want to read two movies that are tough for you to choose between.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know, Patriot or Godzilla. It's a toss up.
Dude, I'm gonna anger a lot of Godzilla fans, but I don't hate that movie.
I
It's not a good
definitely hate
it's
that
not a
movie.
good Godzilla movie. Like,
I'm not a Godzilla fan per se, but I definitely hate that movie. It's really bad.
I'm gonna take the Patriot on this one, but I want it to be clear that I don't hate that movie.
I am also gonna take the Patriot. Just
That
'cause the
whole
first 45
ending
minutes carries
scene
it.
inside Madison, like talk about the best tease for a new second movie ever. Like the eggs in Madison Square Garden hatch right as the movie ends.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
It's the best tease for a second movie that never happened.
Never
Yeah.
happened. Joining
It's
Planet
like
of
up
the
there
Apes.
with Mario, Planet of the Apes. Yeah,
Planet of the Apes.
dude. Which order would you put those in? Would you say?
Or like level of which one I'd want to see the most.
Yeah, which one was the biggest letdown? Yeah, that they never made a second one.
Oh, Planet of the Apes. After we talked about it, like easily.
That's
Planet
true.
of the Apes.
Yeah. I definitely have been thinking a lot about that Pelican Brief version of the sequel to Planet of the Apes.
Yeah,
Where
absolutely.
he's got to break into a TV station at the end and like
Yeah.
show the ape world that
Show
there's
the
a
ape
smart
world.
man. All right. So, do you want moving on past the Patriot in 2000? Obviously, do you take the Patriot or 2004's The Day After Tomorrow?
Ooh, Day After Tomorrow. Easy win right there. Let's go.
I have never seen The Day After Tomorrow, so I will take the Patriot.
Well,
Pending that I need to watch that.
One day you will watch it because I did see it in theaters.
Nice. All right, this is one I absolutely did see.
Did we watch it together?
Pretty sure we watched it together, and we're gonna do it because.
I think I know what movie it is.
Are you gonna take The Patriot or 2008's 10,000 BC?
My God, man. The Patriot. That movie.
Dude, I'm taking 10,000 BC.
Dude,
easy. It's not even close.
I only watched it the one time we saw it in theaters. So I'll have to see
seen
that
it
one
since
again.
then.
But I
I'm a big fan of
remember
10,000 BC.
interesting. All right, I'll have to. You say that gives me like more of an impetus to want to watch it again. But I remember when I saw that when we saw that in theaters, I was like, what the fuck did we just watch?
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, it's like 65% in an ironic way, maybe, that I love 10,000 BC,
I feel
but
like that's a large
I
portion of all of
really
our.
love 10,000 BC. The whole like ancient culture of it is so funny to me.
Oh my god, yeah, dude, what a fuck! Wasn't like a singer the in it, like one of the girl, like the girl in it was like a singer.
I think so. I vaguely remember her having like really deep blue eyes. That's the only thing I remember about it.
Dude,
I couldn't
hilarious.
tell you who it was, or I mean, I guess I could. I would just need to click on 10,000 BC really fast.
If only we had the technology.
Oh, you know who it was?
Oh,
Star of When a Stranger Calls, Camilla Bell.
Milla Bell. Okay,
Remember
all
when
right. So it
Camilla
was,
Bell was like the big
yeah,
thing, like in
yeah,
the 2006 to
yeah.
2008 range?
Okay, so she wasn't a singer, but that, yeah, but she was popular around that
She
time.
was like an up and coming actress.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was like the female Taylor Kitsch. She just like she kept getting roles and like just nobody was buying it.
Poor guy.
um, all right, so do you take The Patriot or 2009's 2012?
Ooh, 2012, man. That movie.
I
Talk about a
also have
seminal
never
piece.
seen 2012.
What? Oh,
Yeah, I've never seen
dude.
2012.
You need to watch 2012. That movie is a masterclass in absurdity.
I bet. There's a John Cusack's in it, right?
John Cusack, Woody Harrelson, a star-studded cast of clowns that show up to
Oh,
just do nonsense in this
wait.
movie.
John Cusack wasn't in The Day After Tomorrow, too, right?
No, that
That
was
was Jake
Dennis Quaid.
Gyllenhaal.
Dennis
Oh,
Quaid and
Dennis
Jake
Quaid
Gyllenhaal.
is the dad, right? Yeah,
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 yeah. Dad, stay there. I'm gonna come get you.
yeah. Yeah. All right. Have you ever heard of this movie Anonymous
Yeah, we
2011?
did. We watched it together. The Shakespeare movie.
Did we?
Yeah, remember it was the movie where
No
Shakespeare.
way.
Yeah,
That's
where.
this movie?
Yeah. That's
I'm
when you
taking
said.
I'm taking Anonymous at
Yeah, yeah,
10,000%. That
dude.
movie
Me
was
too.
amazing.
That's the one at the end where he finds out that he like slept with his sister or whatever it
No, it
was,
was his mom,
or his
dude. It
mom.
wasn't
Yeah,
his
yeah,
sister. You're
yeah.
blowing it forever. You're blowing the twist for everybody. Just go
If
watch
you haven't,
Anonymous.
go watch
I
it
mean,
up.
I know it's like 10 years old, over 10 years old, but man, that shit blew my mind. That movie was fucked up. I like
Yeah,
that
that
movie.
movie was wild. That was during the era where we were like, all right, we're gonna look through a movie in my collection. If we both haven't seen it, we watch it no matter what it
Yeah,
is.
right. And we were going alphabetically,
Yeah,
so
we went
Anonymous came
alphabetically.
up like
Yeah,
pretty early. Yeah.
yeah. And we were both like, dude, what the fuck was that?
Yeah, that movie was awesome, man.
Yeah,
I kind of want to watch it again now. I haven't seen it since then, which was like probably like we watched it
few
like
years
8
now.
years ago.
Yeah. Dude, that was a classic.
Yeah, Anonymous, easy. um, all right, then there's this TV movie, Dark Horse. I don't know what that is.
I never heard of
Do you take The Patriot or 2013's White House Down?
it. Dude, there's a White House Down, dude.
White House
Absolutely.
Down,
White
yeah,
House Down.
definitely.
Classic.
This is another one I haven't seen, Stonewall.
No, I've never seen that either.
That's more of like a drama, I think, right? Isn't that about
Isn't that
the?
about the Stonewall riots? Like,
Yeah, right. The Stonewall riot.
that's a weird one for him to pick.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
I guess maybe it was that him being like, I'm gonna try actual drama.
I mean, yeah, I would imagine that's more of a drama movie, but I don't
Yeah,
know.
I mean,
Like,
I don't know how you're gonna do
drama.
disaster level violence with Stonewall.
It's actually not about the Stonewall riot. It's just like about the big wall at the edge of the flat Earth
Oh
breaking
my god.
down. It's like this
He
is like
won't
what
know.
Mortal Engines is ripping
He
off.
first when he didn't read the script, he heard they said Stonewall, but he thought they said Stonehenge, so he was gonna make it like a big, huge
Yeah,
spectacle movie, and there's
yeah, right. St- Stonehenge is actually like the self-destruct button on Earth. So if somebody
like
accidentally
the
presses
portal. It's how the portal for the aliens to show up.
it. Yeah. Dude, no, that's what Stargate's about.
Oh yeah, fuck! I already did that.
Yeah. You'd know that if you watch Stargate SG-1.
All
bro.
right, all right.
All right. Do you take The Patriot or 2016's Independence Day Resurgence, which
Oh
is another
boy,
about I have not seen because I was
talk about
not
a
interested.
talk about a hard fall from grace. I would take the Patriot.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take the Patriot too, even though I haven't seen Independence Day, just because I'm offended by its very existence.
Oh yeah,
Like,
there's zero reason for that to have ever existed.
yeah, just like that is pretty high up on the list of sequels they made like 20 years later that just never needed to happen. You know,
There's just zero reason for
like
it.
way too late in the game. There's no way it was gonna go well.
Exactly.
All right, do you take the Patriot or 2019's Midway?
Oh, now there we were talking about a movie right there. I would take Midway.
I will also take Midway.
Classic.
All right, I have also not seen this movie. Do you take The Patriot or 2022's Moonfall?
Oh, dude, you didn't see Moonfall?
No, what's Moonfall?
Dude, you got so Moonfall is an absolute classic drama about the moon falling out of orbit of its gravitational pull and starts careening towards Earth. And scientists have to figure out a way to stop it.
So it's basically just Majora's Mask.
Yes. Yeah, pretty much.
Are they allowed to travel back through time with those owls?
No, they are not.
Wow, that sounds like it's going to be really difficult. Then.
Zero owls in the movie.
That sounds like a big ask. I don't know. I might have to watch it to see how they pull it off.
But dude, it's the twist at the end for why the moon is careening towards Earth might be one of the funniest things I've ever seen in a movie in my lifetime.
Why was it?
You got to watch it. I'm not going to spoil it. You need to watch the movie.
Okay, that's fair. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
All right, and then just a few upcoming things for Roland Emmerich. He's got a TV show that looks like it's coming out this year.
Yeah, I saw a trailer for it. I think like a week or two ago. I think it comes out like around 4th of July weekend again because it's like a historical thing, right?
It looks like July 18th.
Okay, so a little bit after, just a bit on the outside.
I'll read you the summary really quick because this is like really dumb. I have a bone to pick with this.
It's like a gladiator type thing, right?
Yeah, well, hold on. Just wait till you see how they explain it.
Okay.
The series explores a side of Rome never before told. The business of entertaining the masses, giving the mob what they want most, blood and sport. Yeah, you know what? The story of Roman gladiators has never been told before.
I haven't seen that ever in anywhere. Or, like another movie that might be coming out
at the Colosseum? I've never heard of such a thing.
Man, they're really breaking new ground here. Just when I thought they've told every story they could in Rome, they come out with something like this.
I thought that was funny. Like they had never before been told. It's like, I don't know about that, guys. You might have missed it. They did it a bunch of times. And then he's also got a Stargate movie in production.
No.
I don't know. Or in development, not in production, in development. So that's basically like
coming out with another one.
Yeah.
I mean, if he's bringing back Kurt Russell, I would be intrigued.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. I'm trying to think if the guy who played in SG-1, Kurt Russell's character is in it, but Kurt Russell isn't. So I'm trying to think if anything happens to him in that show.
Oh, so like somebody else took over playing him. Well, that doesn't matter. Again, they could just be like
not canon.
They're like,
fuck that never happens.
We've never done that in a movie before. These things being not canon.
Yeah. So yeah, but that's also like in development, which makes me wonder if
it's ever actually going to happen.
And then he's got one in production, Maya Lord, that he's directing.
Interesting.
And it looks like a Spanish like conquistador type thing.
Oh boy.
Yeah, could be interesting.
This man's so well traveled.
Never been told. Roland Emmerich's really just breaking all kinds of ground.
All kinds of ground, baby. Apocalypto, never heard of it.
I mean, there's conquistadors in that for like 8 seconds.
Yeah, I know. Man, what an absolute bonkers career.
Yeah, dude, that was a really good IMDb deep dive, right? Like,
it was a great IMDb deep dive.
Are like just silly enough to be like, I don't know, how am I supposed to pick between those two?
It's like picking between the most schlockiest movies you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah.
Absolute classic.
With that said, do we want to give our star ratings?
With that said, we will now turn our attention to those lovely star ratings.
I'm Roger Ebert. Been a scene from the best film of the decade. This is a great film.
All right, just on the back of the first 45 minutes alone, I'm gonna give this movie 2 stars.
Stars. Oh wow. All right, that's actually
2
lower
out
than
of
I
5.
thought. Wow. Okay, 2 out of
2
5.
out of 5.
It's a bit on the lower end than I thought you were gonna go. I thought I was thinking a 3 out of you, Jim.
Yeah, no. If the first 45 minutes were like, if the last 45 minutes were as good as I thought the first 45 minutes were, easily like 3 or 4 stars. But the fact that it was in the beginning and then it kind of just like got worse and worse as it went on was.
Then it really bungles itself, which is crazy because normally it's the opposite. Like to get a really good, you don't really see movies that have a really good first act and then can't follow through. You usually see movies that have like a shitty like setup, but then once it gets going in, it starts to pick up a little steam.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go just above you, Jim. I'm going based from nostalgia alone and the enjoyment that I get out of watching a really silly movie here. I'm gonna give this bad boy a 3. It is all the things we talked about, but at the same time, I can't discount the fact that I'm never bored watching this movie. It's an absolute fever dream. So
I was bored a bunch of times.
I mean, it probably goes part because I've watched this movie plenty of times since I was a kid. So it still somehow goes down somewhat smooth at times, even though I can recognize that this movie is a giant walking red flag at times.
Most boring scene when they're in the church and Heath Ledger's like trying to recruit them, and his future wife's like, "And you, pastor, you talk about freedom all the time." It was like, God, I hate this movie. I just wish this would end. Like, it's just so hokey and lame and boring.
Not very subtle at all. All right, so with a 3 from me and a 2 from you, that gives it an overall score of 5. And while these side bonus ones don't end up being on the actual list, well, a 5 would have been good enough to put it.
This is our second holiday movie, right?
Yeah, we did Valentine's Day
and now the 4th of July.
Now,
so where did it stack up with the absolute masterpiece that was Valentine's Day?
I would definitely put it above Valentine's Day. That's for sure.
Well, no, what did we give it as a score? Did we put it on there?
Oh, Valentine's Day came to a 3 because you gave it 2 stars and I gave it 1.
No, Valentine's Day lost to the Patriot.
Yeah, Valentine's Day lost.
I would like to play the rest of this game under protest. I don't think that we got the right outcome.
That's right. You don't get to pick Valentine's Day with the Patriot this time, sir. My outcome came out tonight.
It's just an absolute miscarriage of justice that Valentine's Day is below the Patriot.
There we go. Yeah. So in the battle of holidays right now, the Patriot, just like America, baby, sits at the top.
Yeah.
USA.
I'm trying to think what our next holiday movie might be. Well, we won't spoil it here. I like this one because it kind of like came to us last minute. We were like, oh, let's do the Patriot.
Sure, yeah, it did kind of come out of left field. We were not expecting it. So this was a fun little one. But yeah, there's really no, I guess the next like easy go-to holiday would be Halloween.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because then you get into like the actual big ones. Because I don't think there's a Labor Day movie.
Oh, I bet you there probably is.
Oh, God damn it.
All right, hold on. For Labor Day, we watch Hoffa. The labor, dude. The labor.
Oh, wait, hold on. I'm pretty sure they made a movie called Labor Day.
I bet you they did.
Yeah, here we go. 2013 American film, Labor Day.
Okay, what do you got?
All right, directed by Jason Reitman. Oh, damn, dude. Starring Kate Winslet and Josh Brolin.
Oh.
Whoa. What? Oh, fuck. It doesn't tell me. Hold on.
Give me a log line.
What is the log line? Hold on. Give me the log line for the actual Labor Day. Oh, boy. Depressed single mom Adele and her son Henry offer a wounded, fearsome man a ride. As police search town for the escaped convict, the mother and son gradually learn his true story as their options become increasingly limited. What does that have to do with Labor Day?
Oh my God! So it's like the like you pick up an escaped convict trope.
Yeah. Oh, so all right. So it takes place over the Labor Day.
It takes place over Labor Day weekend. Dude, there's gonna be cops everywhere. How are they gonna get home?
Oh, dude, I think we might have to watch this.
What's it streaming on?
I don't fucking know. Does it
Dude,
say?
come on,
Oh,
bro.
okay.
Get
So
with
you
the
could.
streamers.
It looks like it's on Prime Video.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Prime
It's from
Video, dude.
2013,
Yeah, how
starring
did I
Josh
miss? Dude, this
Brolin,
poster is fucking hilarious. Dude, this movie is probably
Oh,
absurd.
dude, Josh Brolin looks so handsome in that poster.
Yeah, with that sweet goatee.
My God, yeah, that
Dude,
was
this all right. So this
rocking
this
back
log line
then.
was way it's fucking IMDb, man. Why do they pick the worst log line? Like the second log line on IMDb, so much better. So the second one reads: a depressed mother's husband has left her, for she cannot bear a second child. Living alone with her only son, she has an unlikely meeting with an injured, escaped convict and reluctantly takes him into her own care. The man proves to be better than his criminal image as the three bond over Labor Day weekend. The only problem? Everyone in town is looking for him.
Oh my God, that is way better. Yeah, that is way better. But also, like, it's just movies are so funny sometimes because she's just like she lets this escaped convict. That makes it seem like she knew he was an escaped convict when she's like, "All right, yeah, you can stay here," and
Listen,
then like
someone's gonna take care of him.
they bond over Labor Day weekend. Like by Sunday, she's like, "Hey, this guy's all right." Like that's so crazy.
Fucking Labor Day weekend. I'm fucking crying. We have to watch this movie now. One, it's a Kate Winslet movie that I've missed, and two, this is absolute. This sounds absolutely bonkers. Like I gotta
Yeah,
watch this.
I'm in, dude. I'm so in. Let's
All
do it.
right, so there you go, people. You heard it here first. The next holiday movie, it's going down. Labor Day weekend, watching the absolute classic that is Labor Day. But we turn it over to you guys now. Let us know down in the comments below. What's your favorite 4th of July movie? Do you fuck on the Patriot with us? Or are you also one of those crazy history buff chuds that can't stand the absolute historical inaccuracies in this? So let us know all that good stuff down in the comments below. Look back for our normal scheduled programming on Tuesday when we dive into what is the movie drop in next week, Jim? That's right. It is the kids movie. Spy Kids 2. So make sure to be
Oh,
diving in there, watch
yeah.
that family friendly goodness. Have a happy 4th of July. We will see you all in the next one. And as always, we'll see you at the movies.